your time, date, your name, save and share it via email. We have trending topics in the New York City area, and we hope as we expand to other areas, we're able to capture more data and have trending topics as one of our key features. You don't, like we mentioned at the beginning, you don't necessarily have to be a part of our community. So let's click burgers, for example, as a trending topic. You're guided to your itinerary builder. You can quickly add any item. We do, as an itinerary, we do want you to have a time set. You can leave it at 0 and come back to it and edit it later. But if you click 1, you get a notification saying it was added, and you're off creating your itinerary. As we mentioned, you can rename your itinerary demo. You can choose the date, and if you want to start later, you can choose that as well. When you're done, you click save, and then you're off to the races. Now, if you want to share or you want to do any of the other features, you do have to be a part of our community. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions, we hope we can answer them.
All right, Mike, I'll hand it to you to start us off.
I'm just curious, like what data sources you have, like what APIs are you using to bring in data about locations, events, or other things?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So basically what we did was we used Yelp's API mostly just to get the specific like information of like the events. And then along with that, we had a on Google, I found this location, this function to grab a location. And it was just perfect because one of the parameters that the Yelp's API requires is like a location. So I was able to just use that as a variable and then just plug that in as a parameter, and then it's able to grab the longitude and latitude from whatever location we choose.
So that's like the location of the user or the location of the address that they type in for the search term?
The address that they type in.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then the right next to type address, we have the current location button. So that's where it'll be able to have your current location.
Nice. I'm curious about a couple other things too, but I don't want to take up all the time with my question.
If anyone has questions, just jump in, but questions are usually slow, so Mike, go ahead and ask, and everyone else, please feel free to jump in or ask via the chat or use the raise hand function.
Well, I'll jump in with what was the most surprising obstacle you ran into when implementing Timmy?
So the way we structured this application is we used React, and with React, we're able to share components. So we each worked in individual components that later coincide and worked together. Jay worked with the map, I worked with the search and the drag and drop. Rafid worked with the APIs and then the login and log out, which we used Google for, was Brandon. So I think we each can share if everybody likes the most difficult part that we encountered.
For me, the most difficult part about the Google map was definitely the markers. And getting everything to populate just right. So getting that info tip to anchor right there in the center of the marker was the bane of my existence for probably a cumulative 12 hours. And adding everything to that was a special task, but getting it all figured out was amazing.
Brandon, do you want to talk about the login?
Yeah, sure. So I ran into an issue kind of like trying to save our users into the backend. So there was a issue with the way one of our queries were returning information. I was really kind of like I was kind of like searching the internet trying to find it, but I really couldn't. So I kind of reached out to my group members. Jay was Jay was more informed about it, and he told me where I went wrong in that case. Um, I believe it was the database when I was selecting just one. When I select just one, if there's nothing being returned, then it just throws an error. But if you try to request more than one data, then it won't return an error even though the array is empty. So I was able to get that fixed and running so that our Google and Facebook users are able to be authenticated into our backend.
For me, I guess one of the parts that I had a huge like trouble with was, or oh, so if you search an item, let's say if you do food in Astoria, Queens, the original API that I used was to get this information, which was a user's page, location, rating, and distance. But then if you hit that drop down button, it gives you more information such as their price, hours, and locations, as well as reviews that the owners or customers wrote from Yelp. And first, I didn't want us to put any reviews lower than a certain rating because, why am I going to advertise a low rated restaurant for you guys? That's going to ruin your experience as a user. So that one was just like keeping a standard rating above a 3.5. But the hardest one was just getting that information because it was a complete different API that I had to use. So I had to have Doug and that one help me find the specific API to use because I was under the impression that it was the same API with just different parameters, but it really was like a different thing I had to look at. And once that happened, then I was able to get all that information into the feed.
I think for me it was handling time. So we want the itinerary to be centered around time. So we ask for duration and start time, and we give you an what time you start, what time you end. And the cool thing about our app is that you're able to drag and drop. So let's say, for example, if you bring this to the top, the times change as well. And if you change the time of the start of your itinerary, that changes as well. So time is actually being affected in multiple locations. So just knowing when exactly to fire that time function and how to actually manipulate the data, because time is an object of its own and it's not a string that's being displayed. Trying to manipulate the time was one problem, and then actually displaying it was a different problem. So it was fun but challenging.
Awesome. I think we have time. We have 2 more minutes. So I think that should be enough time for one more question. Does anyone who hasn't asked a question? Oh, I see one in the chat from Sierra. Do you want to speak out loud, Sierra?
Hi, guys. Just was wondering if you had more time to build and keep working on this great thing. What is something else that you would have added that you think users would find more helpful or just even added bonus?
One feature that we are very much looking forward to adding is travel estimates. So very much like when you use Google Maps and you can toggle your method of travel and get time estimates based on that. We wanted to add a feature where you could then show the time estimates as well as your starting point. So most people either leave from work or home. So when you add your first itinerary stop, we would then give you an estimate of how long it would take to get from your house or your job to your first stop, and then all the time needed to get to the in-between stops.
And along with that, like another thing, because this is something I was trying to work with, but it was just, we ran out of time with it. I wanted to add an Uber price estimator to give you like an idea of how much an Uber ride would be from point A to point B. It was like really difficult to even try to contact someone to get an API key with Uber. And that's why I wasn't even able to do that. And then I tried looking into like a price model and like analysis of how Uber and other ride sharing companies determine their prices. And again, that just creating a formula like that was just a little too much with the time we had. So I'm hoping in the future that's something I can add, or I can work with my team and just help add that into the app.
We're right on time for, I think, everyone to swap. So thank you so much to Tinny. Good luck on the next rounds of Q&A. Everybody else, we're gonna hang out in this room, and the next group is going to swing into here, and we'll have opportunity to do the same thing.
Great job,
Any
all.
last?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
everyone.
All right, so while we're waiting for them, I think everyone can feel free to start working on their feedback form. But otherwise, if you wouldn't mind indulging me, I'd love for everyone, oh, Trip Hikers is already here. I was gonna ask everyone to introduce themselves because I know some of you, but not all of you, but we've got Trip Hikers. So happy to introduce Trip Hikers. We've got 2 of the 3 in here so far. We have Siham and Isaiah, and we are still waiting for Giovanni, who I think just showed up.
Hello.
Yep. All right, so I will let Trip Hikers take it away. They'll give a brief intro, and then we'll jump right into Q&A.
Okay. So we're Trip Hikers. Our app is a portal that connects solo travelers with other solo travelers on any trip they might have upcoming. So,
All right.
landing page here.
So let's jump right into the Q&A.
Thank you. The layout has definitely gone through a lot of changes since we first designed it. It was just a hodgepodge and a mess in our original wireframe with a dark blue background and bright orange to offset it. It was horrible.
We made a lot of changes in our apps, especially when we're coding and we saw like our code and we get so excited, and we had our mentor, Sarah, like she advised us like how to change our CSS. It was really amazing, and we implemented, and we're so happy, excited with our app.
What was the trickiest technical problem you ran into?
I think Giovanni could probably take this because that hotspot map was a lot.
Yeah, I would probably say the hotspot map was definitely one of the most difficult ones. And when we initially started, we had 2 maps, one specifically for hotspots and one for finding popular attractions. And it was pretty complicated in combining both functionalities because we figured it wouldn't be user friendly to have 2 separate maps doing 2 different things. It would just be confusing people, and just a lot of arguments going on there. We're fetching a lot of data from Google. We have like a place ID, geolocation, the map itself, and the autofill. So like, for example, like when you choose a country, the city search will specifically choose a city in that country. That's one of the restrictions that it has. And it just gets translated into latitude, longitude, and just handed off to the maps.
In my side, like was a navbar with a personal first name. So since like we have like different navbar using our app, we have like really do the drop down, and it wasn't easy for two things. Like to grab the ID user, we have to decide either use a Firebase or otherwise use a backend. At the end, we decided to get the IDs users from the backend. And also about the CSS, like mixing between Bootstrap and regular CSS. We have like too much in order to get all the navbar looks the same and get it like easy for the UI matching.
I have a
I
question.
was wondering about the, oh, go ahead, Tali.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was just wondering a little bit about, there's a lot of features on this app. We have trips, we have users, we have requests to join trips, and we have friends and other things. Like how complicated did your data model get on the back end? And what process did you go through to decide like what the tables would be?
Yeah, it got pretty complicated towards the middle of like our development process, where originally we just had tables for trips and travelers on those trips and users. But as we realized, oh, you might need to request to join instead of this, we added in a request table for trips. And then from there, we added in the friend request feature, which has a friend requests table and a friends list table. So once your friend request is accepted, it's removed from that request table and added into the lists table. And I think overall we have 7 tables, maybe 8.
So my question is similar. It's about, I've seen you guys kind of build this up and add on features as you've been building it. And so my question is, if you were kind of starting from scratch and you knew at the beginning all of the different features that you wanted to include, how would you have approached it differently? Or would it be the same?
That's a good question. I think for me, we split up the tasks to which features we thought were the most important at first. So Siham worked on the sign up and sign in. Giovanni worked on the locations, so the hotspots and all the APIs on that page. And I worked on the trip creation and the trip detailed process. So I think our starting would be pretty similar, if not the same, because I think those are the 3 most important features that we have, and especially the locations page, because there's one main competitor that we've looked at and they have nothing like that, and having that feature was really important to us.
And you guys might have covered this, but how do you find, I think you did cover this, but remind me, how do you find friends that you might want to match with? Like as a user, how would I go about and find somebody that I want to travel with? Can you walk us through that again?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if one of you guys want to take, I've been talking a lot. I don't want to hug the mic.
You want to go see him or?
Yeah, like first of all, like you can create your own a trip, or otherwise you can just look. There was a bar search that we can just like enter where you want to go. If there is like a name in there, is gonna show us like all the cart with the trip that you want to go, or otherwise you're gonna look for random trip and you decide like to go, and this is how you go like request like friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do want to implement a user search that we have usernames in our tables, so having and the ability to search by either name or username would make it easier to find users. But like Siham mentioned, right now it's only on trips you can find other users.
Got it. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Don't be shy, folks.
I see like who come up with the name. We all decided like to come up with the name. At the beginning, we try like each one put a name, and then we decided like to have one name, and that was Trip Hikers.
Yeah.
And just to go off tangent, I think that we tried to implement as many features as we thought might be useful for the user. We definitely were pretty ambitious, and we had a lot of ideas. But due to like time constraints, we couldn't get around to everything, and we definitely had more than we felt we presented. But you know, uh, we had a certain time frame, and I think we really fleshed out the application.
So what's the next feature you would implement if you had another 2 weeks?
That like it's gonna be a translation for the whole app, because we want our app be used like in the whole world.
Lovely.
Yeah, the translation, it was already in the works. It just couldn't be finished in time. But we definitely got a head start on it.
All right. Well, we are right at time. So I think Trip Hikers, you will be swapping out, and the next group will be swapping in.
Thank you guys for your questions.
All right, thank you for your questions.
Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, so this would be a new feedback form for this group, not the same feedback form that you are working on with Timmy. So just want to make sure that that is clear. And the next group that will be joining us is AfroLinks. I can't tell if we're losing people, but while we all still are here and AfroLink hasn't joined us yet, would love for you guys to introduce yourselves to each other. I just think it's nice to see who else is on the line. So I'm just going to start with my pictures, and Mike, you're on the top. So just your name and your connection to Pursuit. If you want to say where you work now, that's cool too.
Hey, I'm Mike Boyle. I volunteer at Pursuit a lot. I live down the road in Queens. Well, we're all virtual now, but it's been a pleasure and an honor to be like part of this really important journey for the fellows and to try to help in any way I can.
Awesome. And Mike said he works at Code Academy, who has just hired another 2 of our fellows. So, wherever you are, fellows need jobs. Kip, you're right under Mike in my picture, so I'll jump to you.
Sure, I'm Kip. I also work at Code Academy. I'm pretty new to both New York and Pursuit, and Mike has been my avenue by which I've forayed into it. I've been coding since I was a kid, really passionate about teaching the world to code, and really excited to be able to be a volunteer with Pursuit to help with that.
Awesome. Igor, you're next.
Yeah, name's Igor. When I started, I used to work at Data Miner. I was actually just going through a bit of a career shift. Just started working at Mayor's Office of Urban Affairs, doing a little bit of public service for a year. But yeah, second time doing mentoring.
Awesome. And you're an engineer by trade, software developer?
Yeah.
Awesome. And Kimberly. Kimberly, are you there? You're muted.
Hello, everyone. My brother was doing a presentation in one of these groups, so it's just real
Charlie's
great
your brother.
to Marvin.
Oh yeah, Marvin. He's great.
Yes, it's my brother. So it's just really cool to see, these different apps. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Are you also into music, Kimberly?
I like to listen to music. Yeah.
No.
So you guys are doing great. Great job, everyone.
Oh, it's all the fellows. Okay, I'm gonna see what's going on with our next group. It seems to be a bit of a holdup. But you guys can fill out those feedback forms. And if you have tech experience, great. Please fill it out with tech feedback. And if you don't have tech experience, also great. Please feel free to fill it out with just like presentation skills, communication skills, presence, etc.
So this is my first time doing one of these. Should we be asking more technical focused questions? Mike, I noticed you have and I haven't.
Yeah, did you look at the question list, Kip?
I did, but I guess I didn't look very thoroughly.
Oh, I think those are all tech questions because I actually don't understand most of them and never want to ask one that doesn't actually apply. I think you do need a little tech expertise to know which ones apply and don't apply. But yeah, you should ask tech questions. The goal of this is actually to kind of mimic what fellows might go through on a job interview. If a recruiter was like, tell me about a challenging project you worked on or talk me through a specific part of code. So definitely ask AfroLink really hard tech questions because they are prepared to answer it. Speaking of, welcome, AfroLink. Kongxing has had no, but I know he's going to get it. We've got Maria Brutus and Kong ready to present. Take it on.
So hi, we're AfroLink. We're the application that provides the community with Black-owned businesses and businesses the opportunity to connect with the community.
And take it away with the questions. Do you guys want to share your screen so that, are you sharing it and I can't see it?
I thought I was. If
Yeah,
I'm not,
it's being shared.
Okay, great. It is being shared. That's just my computer. Okay, yeah. So any questions, go ahead. I'll just start us. Oh, I was going to start us off with, guys, how many hours did you spend scraping?
The like first 2 weeks, I believe.
yeah, definitely. We spent a long time just gathering a lot of data and trying to put it all together in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, web scraping is the code is pretty simple. You know, the thing is after the web scraping is gathering the information, getting the data, getting the hour, getting like business description is hard, and we transfer that into Excel sheet, CSV file, then later transfer to a JSON. That is hard.
It took a lot of time. But if you guys want to see the web scraping code, I'll stop sharing so that Kong will show his screen because he actually has it on his computer.
Yes, that's what I did in the last 2 sessions already. Let me do a share screen. Screen 2. Yes. So in here is pretty simple code, but what we're using here is we went to our website, a link called the Support New York City Black-owned Business. Let me show you if I have the website. Right here. That's the article we're using to gather the full engine and the information. So in here, you can see that this is like it categorized by like the area. It has the name of the store, and it has like the hyperlink. If you can click inside, you can see the business link. It has so many information in here, but it's not clean data. It's not into Excel sheets. You know, we couldn't use it. So with the Cheerio packages, we heard it from Corey, is a web scraping tool that we use in this one, is loading the whole website into HTML. Once you have the whole website as HTML, it breaks down into code, you know, so you can grab the stuff that you want. So inside of here, they have a tag called strong. Inside the tag, they have the A tag. The A tag is those business, each individual business. So inside here, I'm getting the children zero data, which is the name of the business. And after that, I'm grabbing the link of their website. So let me show you. With those 2 informations, we copy those information into Excel sheets. As you can see in here, it has the name, it has the link. So after that, we change that into menu, like hard work, you know, grabbing the hour, grabbing the time, grabbing like the physical location. Then we transfer that into a JSON. Yes.
Very tedious work, took a lot of time. But we just focused on that so that, because nothing provided that information, so so that's the route that was decided to be taken, and we built it from there.
Yes.
Do you run the scraping on the fly, or do you do it in advance and upload it and access the clean data?
We transfer the clean data in our API to the public, not scraping, because scraping is just the initial tool that we use to grab in the name and the website. With those two information, you can go into the website, grab like so many more.
Yeah, and Colin only showed like one article we used, but we used a few, and it compiled or just under 400 businesses, which was then we couldn't really find any other information to get like their hours and stuff. So we still like the manual labor was still done to find that information. After we seeded it into the database and made that information available, we moved over to letting businesses sign themselves up so that we could stop working so hard.
That's true.
First of all, good job, everyone.
Igor.
Great presentation. Hello.
Oh, this
our mentor, Igor.
I'm lurking. But yeah, my question would be, what was the biggest technical challenge you faced, and what did you learn from that?
So I would say, apart from the web scraping, which was brand new for all of us, maybe getting used to authentication with the Google Firebase. I mean, I had used it before with my CTA, but I used it in a different way. When we used it in our database, it was we kind of had to revamp our SQL databases and our tables to include the varchar that is needed for the token and things like that. So it took some practice to get used to the Google Firebase. So I think that was the second most difficult challenge that we faced, I would say.
And I think we also ran into that problem because we started the Google Firebase a little later in the game. If we had that information accessible earlier, then it would definitely have helped us out. But because we focus on the businesses first and not the business owners, that came up to be the second block that we faced.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, especially with the backend, with the query and the route, that is killing us because we join multiple tables, to retrieve some informations. Every time when you pass in the wrong like keywords, when you messed up like one thing, it messed up the whole route. It's killing us like for so many times, it's just happening again and again. So in the future, I think we just want to make a simple SQL like in the backend. So if you need it, just do a multiple code. Don't do like join like different tables. We join, I think, at least like 5 or 6 tables into one query route. That is, I think it is bad practice, just doing those stuff.
And we learned from our mistakes, so hopefully now in our future projects we'll avoid the joining, and we'll make our tables in the right order instead of just focusing on the businesses and stuff like that.
Mike, did you have a question, or did it get answered?
Oh, sorry, you caught me muted. Yeah, I was gonna ask about web scraping, but I see that you were ready to show us that already. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Glad we could answer your question ahead of time, Mike.
Mike, is your background alive? Because I see the cars moving.
It's not live. It's a video on a loop. I should really change it. This is like a highly distracting background. It's somewhere in Soho. I've been in meetings, and at the end of the meeting, someone said I didn't pay attention. I was just on Google Maps trying to find where the background was.
Kip, was that you?
Accusing Mike of not paying attention in a meeting? Always. It
was not Kip. It was someone who I will not name.
I know you all have started thinking about making this a public API. What are the changes that you would want to make before you do that?
One, add more businesses. Right now, our live site only has 169 out of all the businesses that we were able to compile. So we definitely want to add the rest of them. and we've already gotten a few requests to access our API. So another thing that we got to do is not a rush, but actually really get a move on it, because we know it's something that other people do want, and it's something that we wanted as well to help us out. So,
and one more thing, we can host our, we can create a new repository just for the API, so it's easier for like to manage. You know, we don't want to use our repository just to hosting out the API.
All right, Avrolink, you've overstayed your time here. It's time to rotate into the next group, and we already
thank you guys.
Thank you,
have
guys.
our next group. Yeah.
Love y'all.
Go, Rudy.
All right, we've got Rody here. That's Kevin, Henry, Ashia, and Marvin. Take it away, guys.
Pressure. We are Roadie. We're the all-in-one booking and management application for musicians and booking agents. We decided to create a product that serviced both portions of the industry, because we realized it's really hard without word of mouth. Sorry, I said word of mouth. Without word of mouth, to be able to find that talent, or be able to find that booking agent to get that next show. So in order to get everybody to that next big stage, we created a middle ground, and that middle ground is Roadie. Thank you so much.
All right, open for questions.
This isn't a question, but my spouse and I were watching the presentations together, and my spouse is a circus performer, and they said that this is the most useful app they've ever seen. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We are live, so you can
Feel free to register, of course. Feel free to register. Thank you so much.
That was also one of our biggest concerns. We didn't want to limit the app to just a specific type of like artist. Like, we wanted to cater to all types of artists. So whether you do comedy, or for your example, you know, if you're a performer, as a user, you're able to showcase your talent by uploading pictures and sharing videos. You could also write a brief description about yourself on the app. And since it's a two-way user experience, clients who could possibly book performers can look at new artists. So we try to just keep a very inclusive user experience.
I have a question for you all. One of the interesting things about this app is you have two very different types of users. You have the artists and the people who would book them. And that's a challenge that we see in applications in lots of different areas, where you have like lots of different types of users who are allowed to do different things or not allowed to do different things. How did you approach that problem, and how did you solve it?
For me, I think it was actually like, I know for me personally, it was hard to actually keep track of what user was supposed to do what and what they weren't supposed to do. So I think that user flow, going through it and having like a solid approach was very helpful, and like guiding us into implementing each page and each functionality, and just making sure, like, if you were logged in as a client, you can't update an artist's profile and things of that nature.
We had a solid
Cool,
goal,
right?
and
So like,
yeah.
so like, what does that mean in terms of like, if you're logged in as a user, like, how did you keep track of whether a user was a client or a performer?
So we are using Redux Toolkit to keep track of, to have local state management. And so when you register, the application saves you in something called a user slice. And we have a function inside of that that actually separates you into either artist or client, dependent on a column called type. So if your user comes up as a type of artist, it will push you to that state. And if your user comes in as type of client, we'll push you into that state. So we're trying to make sure that we keep it very separate. We spent a lot of time at the beginning of the application in the ideation phase trying to create a really robust user flow and trying to figure out how do we distinguish the two users and how do we distinguish their experiences. And we wanted that sort of interaction to connect via usage of the notifications and the contact me button as well as the book me buttons. So clients, when they're trying to book an artist, we want those events that they've created to automatically be loaded. We don't want too many distractions in the way. So if you're on an artist page, you can click the book me button. The event will be there. It'll populate with all the information. All you really have to do is possibly fill in one input and press a button and it'll be there. So it was a lot of hard work trying to make a robust app seamless, but I think with working dynamically and effective communication, we were able to pull it off. And also search by genre, which is pretty cool. Shout out to Rihanna and Billie Eilish.
We still have time for a few more questions.
So this is the section I was referring to beforehand. Shia can then select Halloween and then we'll see the event details populate right there. So hopefully we'll have Billie Eilish play at a Halloween party soon. Looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be very cool.
Who did the design for this?
Henry, would you mind taking it away?
Okay. Okay, so we went through 3 types of design templates, I guess. The first one was regular vanilla CSS, and it was I guess the user interface was just not up to par with the experience you were trying to provide for the user. So 8 weeks into the capstone, we decided to just pick a week and overhaul the whole design, throw the original design, so to say, just throw it away and implement React Bootstrap. And Marvin and I actually contacted Marvin after our, I guess, 4th sprint. I contacted him and I just told him that, man, we just need to find a way to just improve this UI UX, because like I don't feel proud about it, and like it's just not, it wasn't up to our standards. So what we decided to do was look for different types of UI frameworks. So we ran into a lot. We ran into SAS, we ran into Material UI, we ran into regular Bootstrap and React Bootstrap. So we just decided to go with React Bootstrap simply because it would just, since we were using React Toolkit, we knew that our states were organized. So just implementing a UI framework like React Bootstrap just made a seamless transfer over. And also, we also realized that by implementing React Bootstrap, we also cleaned up a lot of code. For example, Marvin, if you want to like take it away with the modules.
Of course. So we were using a few libraries, and React Modal was one of them. But with the implementation of Bootstrap, they have things called listeners. They use a lot of functions called data toggles and data targets. So if I want a certain modal to appear on the screen, instead of having to create like an is open and stuff for the modal, I can just give it the ID of what I want to see on the screen, and it'll be there. This helps clean up a lot of code because we were using a lot of modal functionality and just made the whole thing a lot more seamless. So it took some time, but I think we got it done pretty well.
I would like to say that I was proud of a modal that I had written from scratch, and I presented it to the team like it was my little baby child, and they literally just showed me like, hey, actually we're doing it this way and we can show you that this way is better and why it's better. And it literally just blew my mind into how it was working. And I was like, wow, like now I just got to throw my baby in the trash, you know, because I found a better one.
It was the faded. The faded is amazing.
But yeah, I mean, in general, this whole app, we man, this baby man went through like so many phases, and yeah, here we are with this. This is just like, I guess, Rody like 4.0 up to this point.
If you had 2 more weeks, what would you add?
If I had 2 more weeks, what would we add? I personally would add more. I would probably have for artists. I would probably have like a help wanted page, where clients could possibly like post up any dates that they want, like to performers to perform at whatever specific event, and for the artists to just showcase more of their talent. Possibly have like a discover artist feature, maybe. That's just me personally, but we all have different ideas.
Yeah.
There's also a playlist thing.
Yeah. All right, guys, sorry to cut you short, but we are behind because we got a last question in there. We Rise, I think, is already in the room.
Okay.
They just hopped out for a second.
Go We Rise.
But thank you so much, Rody, and on to the next group.
Also, I just want to say, Tally, thank you for taking time off from your vacation.
Oh.
Appreciate you.
My pleasure. There is nowhere I would rather be right now.
Ollie.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we've got We Rise coming in. We have Deja and John. We are waiting on Nilber, who I thought I saw a minute ago. But while we're waiting for Nilber, Deja and John, you wanna get started with a quick reminder of the app? You've got 3 engineers in the room, so feel free to be as techie as you want to be. Okay. And we've got Nilber.
Hey, I came in too early. And then so this is We Rise. Basically, what we wanted to do was create a community-driven Skillshare video chat platform, where people can share their skills, share what they know, build community, build connections, and do that, within one place that can provide all these features. So you're looking right now at our community dashboard, where we have our workshop feed. Users can search for workshops here, where users can see the workshops they're already registered for, and also, recently posted workshops. So everything kind of an all-in-one. Of course, as you saw, our instant messaging feature, it was very important for our users to be able to communicate with each other. And of course, kind of like, the foundation of our app was this video chat feature where all, the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of skills was happening. And so this is We Rise. And we also like Vogue Gang. Deja on mute. Sorry.
Open for questions.
You all ran into some challenges with the video chat, right?
Yeah.
What ended up being the problem?
So the problem with the video chat was it was stuck on their loading screen. It was just kept rendering their loading component. And it was so weird because when we went to their GitHub, and on their GitHub, it has a live demo as well. And their live demo also wasn't working. So we had no idea how to fix it. But Corey suggested that we look through their issues to see if anybody had the same problem, and maybe there might be a solution. So we end up finding somebody with this exact same problem. And the way how they fixed it, utilizing Jitsi, you can mess around with the configurations. So we had to skip that loading component in our code. And then that's what allowed us to get to the video component.
You guys, this app looks amazing. And I love that you have the video component, and there's also a chat component that goes with it. Is that provided by the same library, or was that a separate implementation?
No, so for our instant messaging feature, we were using Firestore basically to store chats and also retrieve our chats. And of course, I mean, we wanted to use like a NoSQL database for that, that experience of having real-time communication, so that it was the user can feel it was instantaneous. And in terms of like the actual UI, we just built that out using Mature UI. So all it's using basically in the backend is Firestore as a database for accessing and retrieving chats.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you implement that with Firestore?
Yeah, so what we ended up doing, so it's basically using, you know, Firebase's tools, functions that would make requests to Firestore. We had one thing we implemented basically sort of like a listener. So every time, you know, a new chat or message was created, immediately we would get a response with the chat messages. And of course, this would re-render what we were displaying. So you could see that kind of like instantaneous engagement between users. So it was basically that building out like a backend and then just kind of merging that with what we were rendering on the front end. We can play more music.
I have a question for you guys. What type of workshops do you think a user might need to see, like on Rewise per se, like a virtual workshop? Is there any you guys can think of so we can you know, place that in a future implementation?
To remind me of what categories you already have.
John, can you show her the category? Yeah.
So I mean, with our with our categories, we wanted it, you know, it could be anything that you just want to share or that you can think up of sharing. So we were trying to be as expansive as possible. So we have quite a few categories. Because really, it's like, you know, anything that you know someone else could, you know, could value or, you know, it could improve. So it's open to, you know, whatever you'd like to share with anyone.
Kip, I would love to see your partner share anything related to circus performance.
Oh, they do. It's actually, so we've been looking for something like this for a while because the circus community has been pretty decimated by COVID. And so my spouse is an actor and a circus performer, both of which do not do particularly well socially distanced. And so it's been a pretty big shift to move to the virtual world. And something like this could make a huge difference.
Thank you.
We rise.
Okay, we have time for one more question, I think.
What would you want to add if you had unlimited time?
Oh my.
Good question.
Content moderation.
Yeah.
We work on the video chat feature for scaling it up. Keep it open source. Keep the app free always.
Donation, like a donation section where people can donate.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing, like the logistics of the business side of it too. That would be a big thing that we have to consider, because, you know, we want to keep it true to its mission.
We're running out of time, but I like insider knowledge. So you guys kind of had this vision like straight from the very beginning, and I'm curious how you approached the organization of actually building this out and deploying it.
It took a whole lot of brainstorming. It really did. We sat for, I want to say, we really took the whole entire time to brainstorm exactly what we wanted to serve for the app, for Capstone. So it can't say we knew from the beginning, but for the most part, once we figured out what we wanted to do, we were convinced that this is what's going to happen.
And how do you guys like stay on track and make sure you hit kind of everything that you wanted to do?
I would say for me, one of the biggest things was our wireframe. Our wireframe like kind of had exactly how we wanted the site to look. So in terms of creating it with our code, we were kind of sticking to the wireframe to make sure that it functions exactly how we thought it was going to function before we started to develop it, according to our wireframes.
I mean, in terms of like the UI and the design, I think that was like kind of set early on, and so that really helped a lot in terms of how we wanted the layout to look, what what we wanted to include, how that was going to be organized in the app, and also in our code, and I think that helped a lot. And just knowing like, okay, this is how it's going to look. Now we just got to make it happen. I think that helped us in terms of like prioritizing and like just getting everything that we were able to do, and creating your eyes.
All right, we are at time. I'm getting really bad at keeping time. Zuvio is already in the room, so time to rotate. Thank you so much for sharing your app with us, and good luck on the last round.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last group is here. It's Zuvia. We've got Samantha Uduabaski, Danny, and Ohidor. And then just a note for guests. So after this, I'm going to put in the chat a Zoom link back to the main Zoom room, and we're all going to hop back there for kind of closing remarks and closing thoughts. But Zuvia, take it away.
Okay, so just a quick run through of the app. We are focusing on maintaining pets' information, their tasks, and their appointments. We are also focused on allowing pet owners to find local veterinarians, to schedule appointments with them, to be able to message with them through the chat feature, and also have video consultations. We also have a vet portal available for vets to be able to manage appointments and user information on that side as well. So we are open for Q&A.
Hi, Code Academy family. Hi.
I love the background, by the way, Mike.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, I've been my backgrounds have been distracting today, but thanks. And yeah, this app was super impressive. I'm so happy for you all, and like, I haven't like worked too much with you since we did the hackathon, but the progress that you all have made is amazing, and I'm just so thrilled for you all.
Thank you.
I think you've probably answered questions about this already, but one of the most exciting features of the app is the video chat using WebRTC. Can you tell us like how did you implement that, and what was challenging, and what did you learn about WebRTC from this?
So yes, we use WebRTC and Socket.io, but we did also use Simple Peer, which essentially is a wrapper. It wraps the WebRTC, and we utilize Socket.io to be able to create the sockets and also communicate and send the signal back and forth between the users.
Do you use WebRTC for the chat as well, or just the video?
Just the video. And as far as like the chat is concerned, the chat, we're using the Firestore, and which essentially we're able to communicate. And the great thing about the Firestore is that the information, anytime the information gets updated, anywhere that's pulling that information instantly gets updated.
Have you thought about finding ways to build an API on top of this? I ask because I used to work in people telehealth, and one of the biggest asks was always to get the appointments from the telehealth system into whatever other system doctors were using.
We have not thought that far, but that is a great idea. and we can definitely look into that, but we haven't thought that far.
And to piggyback off what Danny said, we're trying to look for an API that would get vets, so it's easier for users to find a specific vet. But right now, we ended up using Yelp to find veterinary services and other pet-related services. But eventually, we hope to create our own database for specifically for vets, very similar to how ZocDoc has it.
Yeah, and to also piggyback off of that, being that the vets that you can contact are only the vets that are signed up to our portal, we definitely want to be able to create an API for that so we can make sure that you have access or the user has access to those vets.
What is there any kind of challenge, that unanticipated challenge that happened in the working on this app that you had to deal with? And can you talk about what that was and how you handled it?
That is a question that has many answers. Every step of the way there was so many challenges. It's like, so for me personally, in the challenges that I've personally dealt with, you come into like the app, you have an idea of how it's supposed to be, you have these sprints, you create the sprints, you do your research, and when you get into actually building, you're extremely confident because you've planned it out and you've done your research. But as soon as you start building, there's a challenge that you never like thought about. There's something that comes up that's like specifically to the app. But off of the top of my head, I probably would say the video chat feature was challenging because we haven't worked with the WebRTC and Socket.io technology. And the actual challenge that came about was while we were working on it, essentially when we're creating the socket, there was a weird issue with storing the users that have created a socket. And essentially we had to figure that out. And being that the users are created, or the sockets are created for every user, we had to connect those users to their actual user ID and their name and all of their information in the back end and send that back up to the front end so we can differentiate between the users and attach those users to the socket.
We've got time for one last question.
Samantha, I see you brought your cat to demo as well.
As if I could bring her anywhere. She chooses where she wants to go, and this is it. Perfect timing.
Did you all end up doing anything for mobile? Did you think through it or start implementing?
We definitely have mobile on our sites for future implementation. I mean, there are certain things that we can do over the phone. Like when I did the video chat feature previously, that was through my phone. But it doesn't have pure responsiveness yet in terms of like design and everything like that. But functionality, you're still able to do a lot of things. So we're gonna work on that though.
What was the main, like what was the #1 feature that you guys knew you had to be able to implement before technical showcase for this website to be successful?
Dee can answer that question.
So like we were gunning hard for the video feature, like so hard. I mean, like we had got the messages, like we started out with the messages and, you know, that was like super important. And then once we got the message, we were like, okay, we have a couple of weeks left. Like, let's get into this video thing. And it was, you know, dealing with, you know, it was 2 features that we had never worked on before. So, you know, it seemed a little ambitious at the time, but we were like, listen, you know, we're gonna go big or go home, you know, do research. We have the tools, you know, we have our mentors, we have, you know, extra resources, like we can get this done. And so that's what we did.
Yeah, initially that was supposed to be like a stretch feature, but we weren't letting it up. Like we were like, we had to.
Yes, definitely. It started off as a stretch feature, and Dee advocated for it a lot, and we got behind her, and we came together as a team to definitely make it happen because we also wanted to make it happen as well.
We're at time, perfect timing. So here is what's gonna happen next. I am going to put the main Zoom link in the chat. And so we're all gonna reverse back in there the same way that we came into, here. Just give me 1 minute to get that link. My request to all of the guests here on the phone are please do fill out the feedback form. If there's questions you can't answer because you didn't have enough time to dive into it, that's fine. You can leave them blank or just say you didn't have enough time. But for anything that you did have time, whether it's the presentation, the technical aspects, whether you were impressed, whether you have suggestions for what they could do next or some way that it could be even more seamless, please do share it. It will be really helpful for everybody's growth. And we're asking that you please do what you can for that tonight, so that we can share it with fellows as soon as we can. And with that, here is the main Zoom link. And you can just go in there and leave this chat room and we'll finish up over there. Thanks, Zuviao.
Thank you.